go out on the 13th day of the year because we remember that on the 13th day of Adar, what happened on the 13th day of Adar in the scroll of Esther? The Jews killed the Goyim, so we're escaping our homes in order to run away to escape the Jews who are trying to kill us. Why doesn't it really fit?
The month is wrong, first of all.
Right, the month is wrong. Because it's the 13th day of the first month. It's more like the 13th of Nisan. And it's another spring holiday. The Judgment Day, or the important day, is either the 13th, right? The 13th of Adar, the Jews killed the Goyim. The 13th of Nisan, what happens in the scroll of Esther on the 13th of Nisan?
Poor.
Right. They cast the lot. Haman cast the lot on the 13th day of Nisan. The 13th day of the first month is the day of judgment. He judges like a god. He gets the king's signet ring, and he dies. Because the king has to die. And there's also Friday the 13th, when the Christian God dies and then resurrected. The 10th day is also a judgment day, and there's one calendar in our area that's not agricultural. It's not a solar calendar. It's not by the seasons of the year.
The Muslim calendar is also.
The Muslim calendar, right. On the 10th day of the year of the Muslim calendar, what happens?
It's a fast day.
It's a fast day for the Shiites. They don't only fast, they beat themselves. Okay? They beat themselves with chains until there's blood. They cut their children in order to bleed. Why? Because there was a great massacre on the battle when Islam was split into Shia and Sunni. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hussein was killed on the 10th day of the year. And since then, it's one of my Iranian friends said, every time one Arab killed another Arab, I have a day off. So even there's a great massacre on the 10th day of the year, even though it's not a solar year and not an agricultural year. So I hope I convinced you that it's all about Rosh Hashana. If we summarize all the holidays, the world is in great danger. We have to do things we don't normally do. We're allowed to be promiscuous and to drink a lot of wine and to get drunk. Everything has to be a big, huge mess before everything is good. And then the God or the king or the fake king or the temporary king. Someone has to die, preferably a lot of people, in order for everything, for order to return again.
And have a feast.
Then we can eat. Yeah.
You've shown a lot of parallelisms, and I want to ask whether you're also suggesting causality. In other words, are you suggesting that some of the Jewish holidays are taken from Persia, which means they were never celebrated until the Jews were in Babylon and then came back?
I know that there have been the two New Years, the Tishrei and Nisan New Year, have been also in Egypt, because the Nisan New Year, the spring New Year, is a symbolic New Year. Nature wakes up. It's a good time to recrown the king. For example, when they say in the second year of his reign, it means that if the king was crowned even in Adar, Nisan would start the second year of his reign. Because you can't now remember which king was crowned when. So Nisan was the New Year for kings. It started a new year. Tishrei is the agricultural New Year, because if we start Shnat Shemitah, in Nisan we lose 2 years. The rain starts in Tishrei. So there have always been these 2 New Years, at least in our area.
I think it's more like a common cultural background.
Yeah, it's a common cultural background because we have a common nature. Yeah, I don't mean human nature, I mean nature, God's creation. And New Year's is New Year's, even our personal New Year's, even our birthdays are times when we reflect We make New Year's resolutions or birthday resolutions. It's a part of human nature that we feel we have to. Yeah, and if we have legitimacy to get promiscuous and get drunk, that's even better. Things have to be, in order to keep order, you have to give the people a chance to do things they don't normally do, so then they can go back to the usual order. I think it's about human nature. Maybe there's also mutual influence, but you can't really tell who was first, what was first.
You're comparing it to the Iranian, but what about the Indians have exactly the same sort of thing? On the new moon, on the full moon rather of March, they have Holi. On the full moon, when we have Sukkot, they have Diwali. And they also have this custom on the 10th day of the month, just before September, that some of them don't eat certain foods. So that this was obviously a kind of thing that happened in the whole of that part of the world.
Even the Inca have a winter solstice holiday. So it's probably something either very, very deeply rooted, right? Deeply rooted in human history, or a part of human nature. Because we feel these dates are special, auspicious, suspicious, and we feel we have to do something, either 40 days before or 8 days before or after, but something has to be done. So if it's the autumn equinox, we do things that are related to rain and ask for blessing in the new year. If it's the spring equinox, we do things that are related to fertility. If it's the winter solstice, we do things that are related to light. But it's always about Rosh Hashana. Any more questions, comments?
Just one parallelism, which I don't quite know what to do with. The story you told about the Iranian women in the spring taking the greens and throwing them into the river, and then meeting guys and doing all kinds of stuff. In Brooklyn.
Not doing all kinds of stuff.
Okay. Talking. In Brooklyn, on Tashlich, in the Orthodox community, that's the big matchmaking day.
In the Upper West Side too.
Only Brooklyn. I don't know where else, but Brooklyn.
Men are fishing for women.
Yeah, wow. I thought I was expanding the 9th chapter of my book for the next edition of this Book of Esther Unmasked, but now I see it will be tenfold instead of tenfold.
Talk about the book. You haven't said talk about the book.
Yeah, thank you. This is my book. The whole research of it's all about Rosh Hashana started from chapter 9 of this book. I've been giving lectures about the scroll of Esther for 17 years. Now it's almost 18. And I do research all the time. And in order to write this book, I thought about Nafochu holidays, because I know about Sake, and both the Sake holiday and the Akitu holidays are holidays when Marduk triumphs over darkness or over chaos, and Marduk in the scroll of Esther is Chaim. And I started looking into Nafochu, to the contrary holidays, and it never ends. And then I got to in my first book, I wrote that it's unlikely that Siavash is identified with Tammuz, because Siavash is spring and Tammuz is autumn. But now I realize they're all the dying god. And the dying god is a very big mythological concept in all the religions of the world. Also, Africa, there are a lot of places I didn't talk about. I talked about things that are closer to us, or closer to me. But it is really all over the world. And these days, maybe even tonight, I'm launching an international crowdfunding campaign to translate for the expanded edition, where this lecture is going to give me tons of new input. The Tashlich matchmaking is the Tashlich matchmaking, the Indian full moon holidays around equinoxes. It all boils down to Rosh Hashana. And
But say what the book is. You haven't.
What?
Say what the book is.
Yeah, the book is actually an Iranistic commentary because I'm an Iranian linguist and I read Ahasuerus in the original. I commentate on the Book of Esther as an Iranist. I'm saying who Ahasuerus was, who Esther was or was not. I talk about Persian words in the book. People who think the Scroll of Esther is a real historical event can find all the claims to support what they think. People who think the Book of Esther is a myth can also find all the support for what they think in this book. What I like about this book and about this lecture is that everyone is more convinced of what they thought. And now I'm expanding it and translating it to English and Persian. I have to do it myself because it's not only translation, it's an adaptation. Because there are certain things that I can't expect from English-speaking readers who don't speak Hebrew to know. And there are other things that I can't expect Iranians to know. So I have to adapt it. The Persian version will be distributed as a free PDF because it's a mitzvah to tell them the 13th day of the year is not Purim, and it's not the first genocide in the world because Darius did it before. And to tell them more about their own background.
Aren't you afraid that you're going to be put on the hit list?
I am on the hit list. I've been a victim of a spear phishing. Because I said in Galei Tzahal that I'm in touch with Iranians and they probably want to know who I'm in touch with. They're trying to get my email password very bad. They stole two of my dormant email. Actually, when I give the Purim lecture to Orthodox people, I've never given it to ultra-Orthodox, but to modern Orthodox, they let me say whatever I want. Sometimes they argue, which is excellent because it helps me solidify my theories. The only place where I was limited in the lecture about the Book of Esther, when they told me only talk about the historicity of the Book of Esther and don't say anything about the possibility that it's a myth, was the Ministry of Education in Jerusalem.
Why are we not surprised?